welcome back to Only One Stories. My name is Bonnie, and today I'm going to tell you a crazy story. There is an actor. You might not know him by name. His name is Ryan Grantham, but you may have seen him in some of his movies or TV shows. He was best known for his roles in Diary of a Wimpy Kid in 2010. He also played a character in Riverdale.
Appeared in the movie Diary of a Wimpy Kid and the hit TV series Riverdale.
He told the police he did it. To protect me, but it wasn't him. Okay, it was me.
And apparently other people were telling me that he was also in Supernatural. And some other roles. He was a child actor, so he had parts, throughout his life. And he also planned on murdering Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
He also allegedly had plans to assassinate Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who just visited with President Biden.
Yeah, he's been in the news recently. I don't watch the news, but I've been told he's been talked about recently because he just had his sentencing hearing. Because instead of killing and assassinating, I suppose, Justin Trudeau, he murdered his own mother. Okay, so in March of 2020 in BC, that's where Ryan was living with his mother, Barbara Waite. Ryan was going through a lot of mental health issues. Apparently he was spiraling into this deep clinical depression, and he was having homicidal and suicidal thoughts. He had his plan to drive to Ottawa and to murder Justin Trudeau. There's no record of it anywhere on the internet. I have no idea why he wanted to do this, but that's what his plan was. So he didn't want his mother, Barbara, to have to deal with that. He didn't want her to have to, be there to deal with the shame of it and that sort of a thing. So he thought, I'm going to spare her by murdering her. So March 31st of 2020, he got his .22 caliber rifle, and he sat on the steps of his townhouse for like 15 minutes or so before, contemplating, I guess, whether or not he should go through with it. The day before, he had practiced with his rifle, pointing it at the back of his mother's head without actually pulling the trigger. And then on March 31st, 2020, he went through with it. While his mother was playing the piano, he stood behind her and he did pull the trigger, and he murdered his mother. He then took a GoPro and he filmed up to about 4 minutes, including talking about, confessing, showing the body. They showed this in court, apparently. So according to his statement to police, after he committed the murder, he went out to get money, weed and beer, and then he experimented making Molotov cocktails, and he watched Netflix before covering his mom's body with a sheet, going to bed. And the next day, he hung a rosary on the piano. He surrounded the body with some candles that he lit, and then he packed his car full of guns, ammunition. He had 12 Molotov cocktails ready to go, some camping equipment, and a map to Rideau Cottage, which is where Justin Trudeau was at the time. And he was still really intent on going through with the assassination. He even tested out a Molotov cocktail that he had in a remote area to make sure that it would work. And then he set off to drive from his home in BC all the way over to Ottawa. But then he must have had some second thoughts, and he part of the way there, he turned around and drove to a police station. He had some plans. Instead of the assassination, maybe he would go to his university campus and do some damage there. But instead, he turned himself into the police and he confessed to murdering his mother. He was initially charged with first-degree murder, but then he pled guilty to second-degree murder. And then that, in Canada, that's an automatic life sentence. So now the hearing was, I guess, just to see how many years he has to serve before he's eligible for parole. Ryan was only 21 years old when he committed this crime. In court, they talked about how Ryan was in a downward spiral in the month leading up to this murder, and they said that he was depressed and he was spending a lot of time online and smoking marijuana, and this all sort of led to the events that happened. And they said that mental illness played a role in what happened, and he has significant remorse now. When she didn't reply to any texts or phone calls, I guess her daughter, so that would be his sister, found the body. And she said, "How can I trust anybody when my only sibling chose to execute my mom when her back was turned?" A lot of times in cases like this, there's lots of warning ahead of time. There's, a lot of red flags that people look back and say, oh yeah, I could. This just surprises me. I don't know him at all, but I wonder if there were any warning signs. In these kind of stories, I'm always trying to figure out the why, like what was the motivation? What was the reasoning behind it? And it's so dissatisfying, when you don't get any answers, when you don't understand what the reasoning is, the motivation, but also a lot of these stories of murder and these senseless things, there is no good answer. It would be really interesting to be able to hear his confession or hear from his own mouth what was going through his mind at the time. So, why are there no photos of him? I mean, it's a little weird, right? I was going through and trying to find through Google Images and stuff different photos of him growing up or in nowadays, or his mugshot or something. Has this lawyer gone through and scrubbed? I mean, all you can find, as far as I can find, if you Google him right now, Ryan Grantham, I mean, the photos that come up are his, a couple out from the red carpet and some headshots that he had professionally done. One or two from a movie clip. But where's his mugshot? Where's all of his, I don't know. Am I being a conspiracy theorist? Is there something a little weird about that? Or maybe he's just rich and famous and that's what they do? A little weird. Thank you so much for joining me on Only One Stories. If you'd like to follow me on TikTok or Instagram, I'll link that information in the description. And please subscribe if you like hearing crazy stories, true crime stories, interesting things. And if you have a suggestion of a story you'd like me to cover, please tell me in the comments below as well. See you next time.